Cool IT Systems cools the world's fastest and most advanced supercomputers on the top 500 list. For over 24 years, we've been the leading liquid cooling provider for the world's top HPC and AI systems. Ensure performance and reliability for your next-gen AI systems with the world's liquid cooling expert. Explore more at coolitsystems.com.
The first non-US system certified to have reached the exascale class level of computing.
That kind of leads me to a discussion of why are we doing this and like the benefits of the top 500.
I believe it was 2016 that China dropped out of top 500, and it's really unfortunate. Wish they would come back.
The ability to take advantage of what an AI optimized chip gives you to do traditional HPC.
From Orion X in association with Inside HPC, this is the @HPC podcast. Join Shahin Khan and Doug Black as they discuss supercomputing technologies and the applications, markets, and policies that shape them. Thank you for being with us.
Hi everyone, I'm Doug Black at Inside HPC, and with me, of course, is Shahin Khan of OrionX.net, and we are at the opening day of the Supercomputing Conference here in St. Louis, SC25. And today, as always happens on the first day of the conference, was the release of the new top 500 list of the world's most powerful supercomputers. Shahin and I both went to the press briefing with some leading HPC luminaries talking about the list and developments in supercomputing and HPC and AI. And Shahin, probably the most significant development to the new list is the addition of the Eviden-built Jupiter Boost supercomputer. This is at the Jülich Supercomputing Center in Germany. This system now becomes the first non-US system certified to have reached the exascale class level of computing, so congratulations to them. In fact, Jupiter Boost's performance improvement is the most significant change from last spring's top 500 list. Last spring, Jupiter Boost came in at just under half an exascale in compute power. Now the system hit the exascale mark on the nose, according to the data on the new list.
Yeah, the other change is El Capitan, the number one system at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. They ran the benchmark again, and they got way closer to 2 exaflops at 1.809 exaflops. At the moment, the rankings are therefore Livermore, Oak Ridge at 1.35, Argonne at 1.01, and then EuroHPC just below it at exactly 1 exaflops.
So El Capitan, this would be 3 straight lists. It's the number one system. It took the number one spot a year ago at last year's SC. From the Frontier system, which is, as you say, the number 2 system in the world. El Capitan, this is an HPE Cray system with 11 million cores, and it's based on AMD 4th generation EPYC CPUs and AMD Instinct MI300A GPU accelerators. Now, Frontier is measured at 1.35 exaflops, and the number 3 system, as you mentioned, was Aurora at just over an exaflop. And looking through the rest of the top 10, after Jupiter Boost, we have the Eagle system. This is a Microsoft Azure system. The legend is that a few guys spent a couple of weekends building this AI supercomputer on Azure. I think it was 2 years ago, Shahin. Number 6 is the HPC6 system in Italy. This is the number 1 ranked commercial system in the world. This is a system owned by ENI, the Italian energy company. And this one comes in at just under half an exaflop of performance. That's followed by number 7 supercomputer Fugaku, which was the number 1 system as of, I guess, more than 3 years ago. That's an ARM-based system at the Riken Center for Computational Science in Japan. We have the ALP system, another HPE system in Switzerland. We have Lumi, an HPE AMD system in Finland. And the number 10 system, rounding out the top 10, is a Bolsequana system called Leonardo. This is at EuroHPC Cenica in Italy.
Yeah, so a few notables with really the top 500 in general, but also as one looks at top 10 with not a lot of movement, is that number 1, China is not participating. Number 2, many sites don't actually run HPL, the benchmarks. And number three, many chips don't run HPL either. And we have a large number of AI-focused chips that in principle could run this, but they don't. That kind of leads me to a discussion of why are we doing this and like the benefits of the top 500, besides the historical perspective, having done it for so many years, and the large body of data that it provides in terms of architectural approaches that have been tried and what sort of performance they've got, and the software stack, et cetera, et cetera. There's also a predictive quality to it that if you study it deep enough, you can start kind of being able to predict how a particular architecture might perform for various applications. There's definitely a community aspect to Top 500. It rallies the community behind a really good set of performance benchmarks. And that leads to number four, which is the evolution of benchmarks. So there's definitely HPL, but there's also HPCG and MXP and Green 500 and several other derivatives that have come about that we will cover in this podcast.
Now, this list is quite static, yet regardless of that, looking at the top 10, looking at this list, it does represent a tremendous achievement in advanced computing. And I think we should note too, Shahin, that recent lists have shown a lot of changes. They've been surprisingly change-worthy, if you will, significant additions. And a big theme we've seen on recent lists in recent years is the rise of HPC in Europe. To the degree we see a change this year, and as noted, we continue to see that in European system joining the exascale club, while Europe is also well represented throughout the top 10, outside of the top three systems, we should say.
That's a very good point. So maybe with that, we can move to HPCG.
Okay.
That's the conjugate gradient benchmark. It's a sparse matrix iterative solver. It's a much, much harder problem to solve than the HPL dense matrix factorization benchmark is. So you'd expect to not get a good fraction of the peak performance from this as you might from the dense linear solver. And indeed, that's what you get. We've talked about this in the previous coverages of the top 500 numbers, but you're doing well if you get 1% of your peak performance with HPCG. Whereas for HPL, if you're doing less than 90%, you're probably not doing as well as you could have. So that's a very sharp contrast between the two benchmarks.
Okay, so looking at the HPCG top 10, does anything jump out at you? We do see interesting system at number 6 for the HPCG top 10 list. Shane, this is a SoftBank system. Wondering if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah, there are two new entrants to the top 10 with HPCG. One is, as you mentioned, number 6, and that's a SoftBank system in Japan, and it's a DGX B200 with Xeon Platinum configuration. The notable thing about that is that it gets 2.5% of the peak performance, and it is ranked number 17 in the top 500 in general, but number 6 on HPCG. There's another new system, and that's number 9, and that's an ExxonMobil system in the US. It's an NVIDIA GH200 based system, and it gets to be number 15 on the top 500 system and number 9 on HPCG, and it gets 1.2% of the peak. Now, the star of this list is really Fugaku system in Japan, and that continues to be number 2, number 7 on the top 500, and it gets 3% of the peak. So in principle, it's like 3-4 times more efficient than its general competition.
Shahin, help us understand that number 3%. As you say, it's exceptional, but what does that mean about the remaining 97%, that the system is unengaged? What does this mean?
Well, in short, yes. It means you've got all that capability, but you're unable to actually take advantage of it. Some of this has to do with the compute intensity of your algorithm, like how many pieces of data do you move and how many computations do you do on them. So if you move a couple of few pieces of data and you do a lot of computation, that benefits the system and it allows the system to perform way better. But as you get into more garden variety, actual bread and butter calculations of HPC, you kind of run out of those. Now, if you're doing deep learning, then you're back into matrix multiply land, and it's like you're good to go, and you can get a pretty good fraction of the peak. But for general scientific engineering work, Fugaku optimized for that. Fugaku built a system that really favors data bandwidth as well as computation to try to get more of a balanced system. Now, the counter argument sometimes is that if you reduce the top peak performance, then you are eligible to get a better fraction of it. That can be true, and you can see some correlation that when your peak performance is way high, then achieving a higher percentage of it becomes more difficult. But it comes down to really data bandwidth and performance.
Now, the Recon system has been on the list for years now, five, I want to say, 4 or 5. And I know you're a fan of that architecture. It must be rewarding for you to.
It's for that reason.
Yes, exactly. So, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I knew this was going to be a long-lasting system, and it is. And I think it's going to continue to figure prominently until the next generation shows up.
Okay. Should we move on to the next benchmark?
Let's do that.
Supercomputers are driving the world's most exciting innovations, but all that power generates a ton of heat. For over 24 years, Cool IT has cooled the world's fastest and most advanced supercomputers, including those on the top 500 list. With our unrivaled liquid cooling expertise, extensive technology portfolio, and in-house capabilities, Cool IT is enabling what comes next in computing. Visit coolitsystems.com to check out what it really takes to cool today's most demanding workloads.
Now, this one is the HPL-MxP, meaning mixed precision top 10. And this is, as I understand it, Shahin, a good reflection of AI performance. Is that the case?
Well, I kind of consider it more as the ability to take advantage of what an AI optimized chip gives you to do traditional HPC. Because with MXP, you are leveraging mixed precision, but you're getting the same exact answer as you did before. Basically, you do low precision factorization, and then you iteratively refine it with high precision. So you don't use your expensive high precision hardware until you actually need it. You use low precision to get close to the answer, and then use high precision to finalize the answer. So turns out that you may have to actually do more computation to get there, but you're doing it so much faster that you are way, way, way ahead. And the table that Jack D'Angara showed at the press conference demonstrated that really well.
Yeah, and as we all know, many forms of AI compute require less precision. So there we are. Now, the top 10 for this benchmark, to a great degree, reflects the top 10 for the LINPACK benchmark. We have El Capitan, Aurora, and Frontier in the top 3 positions. And familiar system names like Lumi at number 7, that's number 9 for the LINPACK. Fugaku comes in at 8, and as we said, it's 7 on the LINPACK. And the Leonardo system. And then we see Jupiter Boost, the new exascale system. It's 4 on both benchmarks. And we see the SoftBank system again at number 5.
Yeah, so the SoftBank system moves to number 5 on this benchmark versus number 6 on the HPCG. And it is a new entrant. So is the Jupiter Booster that you mentioned. That also is a new entrant at number 4. And what is notable with the HPL-MxP benchmark is that the top 3 are all DOE lab US-based systems. From El Capitan at Lawrence Livermore, Aurora is number 2 this time at Argonne, and it does particularly well on this benchmark. And then Frontier is at number 3. All 3 are above 10 exaflops. El Capitan is at 16.7 exaflops, and then the other 2 are hovering about 11.5 exaflops.
Yeah, and I think we should note, just in the case of El Capitan, at number 1 for this MXP benchmark, 16 billion calculations per second, which is just beyond comprehension.
It's pretty mind-boggling. And what is also notable on this benchmark, as we said, if you kind of leverage what you got, this is the hallmark of what HPC folks do. Whatever tools you give them, they will try to harness it. And now they've got fast, low-precision arithmetic available to them, so they use it to get speed-ups. And the El Capitan system is nearly 10 times faster, like wall clock faster, doing HPL when it does mixed precision compared to pure 64-bit. So this stuff really can benefit you if you can take advantage of it. The leader is really SoftBank. The SoftBank system is 24.4 times faster doing mixed precision compared to just pure double precision 64-bit arithmetic. So the next thing that they covered was the 10 largest new systems in 2025. including what happened in June as well as now in November. So the top 10 largest new systems are all in the top 100 system, really the top 79, and only 2 of them are in the US. The other 8 are in other countries. The highest performing one is at number 17, and that's the SoftBank system that we covered. And number 79 is a TELUS system in Canada. Sovereign AI Factory is the name of the computer.
Yeah, after the SoftBank system, we have at 18, it's a system in Saudi Arabia, an HPE Cray NVIDIA system. We have systems in India, Taiwan, Brazil, as you say, all over Israel, and as you mentioned, Canada. So a lot of growth in other regions of the world.
So the other topic that they raised was the adoption of brand new technologies that are also showing up on this list. The obvious candidate there is the Blackwell chips from NVIDIA. Where do they show up?
Yes, and not very high numbers here, 17, 56, 57, so, and then in the hundreds and 200s. But I think that's a reflection of the larger systems. It takes time for a new chip like a Blackwell to be incorporated into the biggest and most expensive and systems that take the longest time to install and deploy. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's interesting to try to figure out what's going on here because obviously Blackwells have been shipping for a while and you'd expect them to show up on the list, and indeed they do. But there are only 8 new ones and they're all outside of the US. So, like, what's going on? It can be that all the Blackwells are going to AI sites and commercial sites that have no time to actually run HPL and participate. Or it could be that these are all large systems and it takes a while to build it, to deploy it, to orchestrate it, as you mentioned. That could be a reason as well.
In other words, we're anticipating we'll see stronger presence of the Blackwell chips in the higher end of the list, in the list to come next year.
So the other thing that was covered, of course, was the Green 500, a benchmark that's been around for about 20 years now, and a couple of new entrants there as well.
Yeah, we have the Kairos Bull-Sequana XH3000 system, this Grace Hopper super chip, and then the Levant GPU extension. This is another Bull-Sequana system powered by Grace Hopper super chip.
Yeah, in fact, top 3 are all Eviden Grace Hopper chips. The number 1 and 2 do better than 70 gigaflops per watt. That's pretty amazing too, that with 1 watt of energy you get that many calculations. And then number 3 to 10 are all above 66 gigaflops per watt. That's the threshold before you become interesting. And of the top 10, 5 of them are NVIDIA, 4 of them are AMD, and 1 is just pure CPU without a GPU.
Yeah, Xeon chips. Okay, so looking at vendors' system share, Lenovo actually comes in at number 1. 28% of the systems on the top 500 list are from Lenovo, although we don't see them toward the top of the list. Number 2, not surprisingly, is HPE at 25.2%, and then Eviden at 11.4%. And I think it's commonly held that HP and Eviden are the 2 leading vendors for the largest, most powerful supercomputers in the world.
Yeah, so Lenovo, being part of the Chinese company Lenovo, they've stopped participating with all the systems that they might have in China. And they have traditionally had a lot of systems on the top 500, as has Inspur, as has Huawei, and they've collectively stopped participating. So the number of systems from Lenovo is kind of gradually going down. They do occasionally submit systems outside of China, but those are not generally in the top 10. So in terms of supercomputing count, it's pretty impressive that they're still number 1. In terms of performance, HPE wins that hands down because all the big systems, many of them really, are HPE system, and then those that aren't are mostly Eviden. So in terms of performance share, number 1 is HPE, number 2 is Eviden, number 3 is other. There's, and then others kind of show up in smaller fractions.
Yeah, HP is number 1 at 46% of aggregate computing performance on the top 500 list. Again, as you say, followed by Eviden at 13%. They don't give the percent for Lenovo, but it's substantially smaller. My guess, it looks like about 6 or 7%.
Yeah, that's what I recall. And then if you look at geography, again, kind of similar when it comes to performance, Europe wins because they've got quite a few and all boosted by Jupiter, the system in Germany. But in terms of count, it's all about the same. Asia, Europe, North America are about neck and neck in terms of count, which sort of says that Europe is getting more of the high performance ones and the US is getting more systems at a lower performance, and Asia is somewhere in between.
So, Shaheen, possibly not the most scintillating, exciting list, but I know you're a proponent of the top 500 list. Those who want to dig into it can get excellent information about trends, developments, and who's doing what. But as far as newsworthiness, I guess we could say this is not the most exciting list we've ever seen. So,
well, it is always exciting and interesting to me. And I really encourage anybody who has a bit of an interest in this to go to the top500.org site and download the spreadsheet, the full spreadsheet. And it's got obviously at least 500 rows and many, many columns. And you can really go to town analyzing all sorts of different attributes that would be very, very interesting. Now, one thing I should say before we close is that El Capitan is number one in all three benchmarks that we mentioned, in HPL, HPCG, and HP-MxP, the mixed precision one. So that continues to be the king of the hill.
Yeah, a tremendous system. And as you say, they've actually been developing the system and improving performance.
Right. So really the big news is El Capitan number one in all three. China continues to be missing in action. We hope that they will participate again and join the community again.
I believe it was 2016 that China dropped out of top 500, and it's really unfortunate. Wish they would come back.
Right on.
It's never been known, Shaheen, whether they're covering for falling behind the West in supercomputing power, or they're covering that they've really exceeded us. We really don't know. Okay, well, thanks so much, Shaheen, as always, for sharing your insights, and I will see you at the conference this week in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be reporting from SC25. Take care.
That's it for this episode of the @HPC podcast. Every episode is featured on InsideHPC.com and posted on OrionX.net. Use the comment section or tweet us with any questions or to propose topics of discussion. If you like the show, rate and review it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. The @HPC podcast is a production of OrionX in association with Inside HPC. Thank you for listening.